fly away with me. Come and fly away with me. Come and fly away with me.
Hello class, today we're going to be talking about proving triangles congruent and then using CPC to prove corresponding triangles are congruent. So that is our learning goal today, and that's what we're going to focus on. I hope you enjoyed my nice little picture of Frodo because I know how much you guys all love proofs. Right, so first thing, we've talked about all unit. Once we can prove triangles congruent, then what can we prove about all of their corresponding sides and angles? We can prove that they're also congruent. So CPCTC, say it 5 times fast, it's a tongue twister, means corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So the steps we're going to take today, step 1 is we're going to prove our triangles congruent by all of our side properties. Side, 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 angle, 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 side, or hypotenuse leg. Once we've taken step 1, then we can prove the corresponding sides are congruent by CPCTC. Sometimes, on step 3, we might have to prove definitions or properties. Today we will not be discussing that, but tomorrow we will. Okay, let's look at our first proof. So, if we look at our given statement, we know that line segment NM is congruent to line segment MK. So, as marked on the picture with our little hash marks, we know that they have equal distances. We're also given that line segment MP is perpendicular to line segment NK, and line segment NK is also perpendicular to line segment LK, meaning that they create 90-degree angles. So again, we mark those in the picture with our boxes. So if we go down and look at our first statement in our proof, number 1 here, our reasoning for that is because it's given to us. Alright, let's look at our second statement. Our second statement is that the measure of angle LKM is equal to 90 degrees, and that the measure of PNM is also equal to 90. Why can we say this? Well, let's think about this. If two lines are perpendicular, then they intersect to create 90-degree angles, aka they're equal to 90 degrees. So the reason for our next statement on number 2 would be the definition of perpendicular lines. I wrote a symbol in here. It's the upside down capital T. It's equal to perpendicular if you forgot. Alright, moving on to slide 3. I tell you that now that the measure of LKM is equal to the measure of PNM. So if we look here, these two match up. They're both equal to it. So what we know is we can say that A is equal to B and C is equal to B. If we have two things that can equal each other, we can cross them out and say that that is the transitive property. Now, I know most of you guys would think that since they're both 90 degrees, why do we need to prove that? We know they're equal, but again, we must prove that in a certain way. So now let's look at the fourth step, or the fourth statement. I now tell you that angle LKM is congruent to angle PNM. So if we look here, they're very similar. The only difference now is that we have, instead of a measure of an angle, we just have an angle. Instead of an equal sign, we have congruent. So all we're doing is we're going from equals to congruence. So like we talked about before, that's the definition of congruent, or the definition of congruency. Definition of congruent, we're talking about angles this time, so let's call it angles. Alright, so we're almost there. Okay, we've proven a side by our given, we've proven our angle, and now we need to prove one more thing. So the last thing I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say that angle LMK, which is this angle right here, is congruent to this angle PMN. If we look at those two, what do we know about them? Well, they're opposite angles of intersecting lines. So, given our definitions that we've learned this year, we know that opposite angles of intersecting lines are always congruent because of the vertical angles theorem. So our reasoning on slide 5, or step 5, would be the vertical angles theorem. And then if we look, we've just proven another angle. So if we look here, we have three things: an angle, a side, and an angle. So our sixth statement, we can prove these two triangles congruent. And the reasoning would be because of our angle, side, angle. And there we have it. We have proven step one. We have proven these two triangles congruent, the hard part. Now what can we assume about the rest of these corresponding angles and parts and sides? Also that they are congruent. So our last statement here is what we're wanting to prove, which is that line segment LM, this segment right here, is congruent to line segment MP, this segment right here. Why can we say that? Well, since we've just proved these two triangles congruent, we can say that by CPCTC, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Put our little hash marks, and we've done. So, class, tonight your homework is going to be on clever.com. You guys have those problems to do. We're going to make sure this is due by Sunday at midnight. Well, let's make it 11:59 p.m. I want to thank everyone for joining me on this video. A couple credits go out to Big Ideas Math for the problem, your guys' book. Narrator, me, Mr. Rauf. I got the music from bensound.com, and I'll be uploading this video onto YouTube. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming out. Watch this video. We'll talk more about CPCTC in class tomorrow. Have a good day.